We're in gallery view now. Hello. Good evening. Welcome to Ham Radio 2.0, because that's really where you are right now. We're going to do another episode of the YouTubers Bunch. We're going to talk about Hamfests tonight, so stay tuned. It's going to be fun.
Shut up and sit down.
All right, so the topic that we first said we were going to talk about.
Right.
What makes or breaks a Hamfest? What do you guys think? Free for all. Go ahead.
Tables.
Yeah, you got to have people. you got to get the people in there. But well, and I say that because here,
but what's going to draw in the people?
Well, and that's the thing we're trying to figure out here in New England. Every time I go to a Hamfest, there's less and less people. But the Hamfests that we have here outside of the convention in Boxborough, Mass, which is moving now. But
I heard that Boxborough is a really good show.
It's a decent show. I went to it for the first time in the fall, and it was okay. But it's supposed to get better this year. They're moving the date and the venue and everything. So that may help grow that one a bit. But here we have a lot of the small ones like Callum's talking about over in England.
Yeah.
And it's the same guys walking around. It's the same stuff for sale. There's not a lot of vendors anymore. A few show up. They don't have a lot of talks and things at these, smaller.
Sounds like they could need some more internet over there.
Yeah, Paul Rob's frozen up.
Okay.
He'll
I
come
thought that
back.
was me for a second. Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
It's cold there in Connecticut.
Oh,
The rest of us.
There he is.
You're back, Rob.
You're back.
Oh,
You're
am I back now?
Yeah, you froze
yeah.
for a second, dude. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So anyway, I guess the smaller Hamfests that we have here in New England, it's the same guys trying to sell the same stuff over and over and over. And aside from the social kind of gathering, everybody kind of getting together and having the eyeball QSO, there's not a lot of attraction to most of the Hamfests around here. A couple of them are really good, and we look forward to them. But I don't know. I think we need to infuse it with something else, like operating events or
So
something.
you say that a couple of them are really good.
Yeah.
What makes those good? What makes those set aside from the other ones that you say are not good? You don't have to name names, just aspects.
It's hard for me to put my finger on it, really. I think it's more, I don't know if it's the club that puts it on, does a better job of organizing it, or maybe the venue or a combination of those things, or I don't know. It's hard for me to put my finger on it. It's something I got to think about, I guess, a little bit. But
I have my own opinions on what it would be, but I just want to know what everybody else thinks.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
my club used to.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Rob,
Go ahead.
keep going, mate. Keep going.
No, my club used to put on one of those smaller Hamfests, and we kind of disbanded it a few years ago just because it was just too much work for not enough return on the effort, I guess. Just everybody was done with it. So I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. There's some clubs that are just kind of done with it, and the ones that are good are put on by clubs that are still enthusiastic about it, so that energy transfers into it.
makes sense.
I think so the venue is very important, and things like car parking, which in the UK can be a bit of a nightmare depending on, they've got this setup that normally has a building that will attract a maximum of 200 cars, and then 500 people turn up. So that's always a problem. I think having one or two top-notch ham radio suppliers and having a good aerial guy and having a great, rig supplier and, some key suppliers is critical. And also having it publicized correctly with the right, by a club who kind of means what they say and what they do and everything else. And the price isn't too much to get in. And it's just all the little variables to keep it together. But as Rob was saying, the market with eBay and Amazon and the ability to get hold of bits and pieces so easily now, because I don't know about the US, but in the UK, very often we've got like two halls. One hall is like professional sellers of stuff who are used to bumping into guys like us all day long, selling as a piece of kit, whatever. And then there's normally another hall with, or another part of the venue, which is for the utter tat. Do you know what I mean? The stuff that is
Mhm.
probably quite good for the right guy. Oscilloscopes that are 40 years old, and just like you were saying, Rob, it was just the same. You've seen it all there last year as well, And I sometimes wonder, but I do think it's the venue, and it's having the right guys on the tables, particularly if you've got a number of halls, with the right hall that looks like a sales event, with the people with the right attitude and all that stuff. But there's inevitably this other hall with people who look like, I couldn't even describe them. I described them actually on an imaginary video I did about the rules of turning up at a Hamfest, brush your teeth, wash yourself, put some new clothes on, all that sort of stuff. And I think actually some of the sellers should do that as well.
Well, you've got to get the right folks there. I mean, we just had one of our bigger ones, or supposed to be our bigger ones, here in Mississippi, and MFJ, which is an hour and a half away from there, wasn't even there.
Oh, man.
And I was like, personally, I was kind of hoping that they would be there. I was looking to talk to them, but they had the booths rented out, but their table stayed empty the whole time. So, do
you think it's important in the modern day that even if a supplier doesn't bring all the equipment, they come for a bit of I'm just making this up now, almost a show and tell dates. You've got the owner and his two key guys, and they might not have all the gear there, but at least they can shake hands and hand out QSL cards or whatever. Because I'm thinking of doing that. So I don't want the hassle of turning up all these places with all my DX Commander product, but a lot of people would just want to say hello. I think that might be an idea.
Or maybe, take a sample, a couple of the high market items or something, and then say, hey, this is where you can order them.
Yeah.
Let them touch and feel it. And
I'll tell you one thing, Callum, that MFJ does that really sets them apart from every other vendor there.
Right.
They have this little pole with bags on them. Just plastic bags that say MFJ.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
literally every single person almost is carrying. If they got anything, they're like, you go to a Hamfest, you're like, crap, I just bought something. What am I going to put it in?
Right.
So they have these just white plastic bags with MFJ in big letters on them, and everyone in the Hamfest is carrying them. So from an advertising standpoint, hello, we're here, we support what you're doing.
Yeah.
Just that alone, you can just go there and grab them off the rack. Just take a bag. Like,
do they put anything? Do they put anything in the bag? Like, pencils?
No, it's just like,
it's
if you
just
go
an
to the
empty
grocery
bag.
store and you pull
It's
a
just
plastic bag off the
It's
thing.
just a big white
That's
bag
it.
with MFJ's name on it.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So you could do the same thing with a QSL card or whatever if you want.
Yeah.
But
like that,
from a business standpoint, they do it right.
Okay, interesting.
I agree. I heard someone, I'm pretty sure it was Richard from Main Trading Company one time. They do a local thing out there every year, almost every year. And MFJ actually comes to that. They call it Ham Radio Homecoming. Kind of a catchy thing. And this is in Paris, Texas, which most of you have probably never heard of Paris, Texas. And there's a good reason for that you've never heard of it. So
they've got the little Eiffel Tower.
Yeah,
I've actually been there.
Yeah. They have a little Eiffel Tower. So, and they have like freaking 1,000 people there, and they'll come from all over Texas. A couple people from Oklahoma, New Mexico. I think one guy came from like Arizona sometime.
Didn't you do a live stream from there a couple years ago?
I did a couple live streams from there. Yeah. But anyway, Richard, the guy who owns Main Trading Company, he says the way you make a successful Hamfest, and I think this is good advice. He's like, you've got stuff that's like, and Hamvention has this. You've got food, an option for food, so where people don't have to leave the venue and come back and go buy something to eat. You've got food, you've got beer, which Hamvention and Hamcation have beer, and you've got like other activities going on besides ham radio. Okay, so Hamcation, right across the booth, I was at the R-Finder booth at Hamcation. Right across the aisle from us was the maker folks doing robot wars. They were building these robots, remote controlled robots, and they were fighting each other like robot jousting and stuff. I'm like, that's freaking cool. I just sat there and watched that for like 30 minutes one day. And but you've got balloon launches. and you've got stuff that's, yes, it's related to ham radio technology wise, but it's not really ham radio, that kind of thing. But a lot of these ham fests around me, they'll be at a small venue that doesn't have enough parking. That's a big thing. Or they don't have any outdoor flea market space. That's a big thing. And they won't serve food. They won't serve beer. They won't serve, and it's not just beer. It's drinks, food and drinks, right? Or they'll sell you a hamburger that costs $9 that tastes like it should cost $3. That kind of thing. So, I think it needs to be an experience, not just, hey, come here and buy your ham radio stuff, which is good. I mean, that's why everybody's there. But it needs to be an experience. It needs to be something that people are like, oh, hey, I can go there and check out all the new ham gear, but also I can do this, this, and this, that kind of thing.
That's really interesting. We could reinvent as we're talking now and give advice to these guys who run these things, because as you're talking there, I'm thinking, I want to see outside like a little field day station with a couple of guys hammering 40 and 20. That would be really cool. And then, if you want to go, you can have a go. That's I'm already thinking if I had to organize some sort of Hamfest, I think a little field day, guys, doing Parks on the Air or the equivalent of is good. The robots, build-a-thons.
Yeah, build-a-thon things, bring that maker movement in. That's how I get my kids in school interested. Right. People will pay $10 or $20 if they go in and they learn how to make something. You give them all the pieces to make a dipole antenna, and then somebody's up there leading them through that. They get to leave with something tangible in their hand too.
That's a good idea.
There's a Hamfest in Houston that's actually in 2 or 3 weeks from now. And this is the first year that I won't be able to make it because of other obligations, but they merged this year. The first time they merged with the local Houston Maker Faire people. And they're going to do a Hamfest and Maker Faire all in one show the first weekend in March. And for the last 2 or 3 years, they've done build your own DV hotspot. They're like, okay, buy these parts, bring them here. We'll show you how to put it together, how to program it, how to get it on the air, and then it's yours to have it. Like you said, Callum, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I don't know what else they could do, to be honest, but
it's a great way to get the newer hams in there.
I agree. Yeah, it's.
But imagine building, an inverted V dipole. I like that idea. Getting it tuned and cut and everything, and just take it away. That would be fantastic. Little mini things like that, and that's pennies, isn't it? Yeah,
and they leave with not just the item; they leave with the knowledge of how to do it themselves too. Once they build one, then they can build others. So something they can leave with.
Something they can live with.
Yeah,
I really like
that's
that.
what and at the Houston Hamfest, that's what they do. They say, bring these pieces. We'll show you how to build a hotspot, put it together, configure it, and then you'll be able to use it after you leave and take it home with you. So they do something. It's like a Pi-Star hotspot that'll do DMR and
P-Star. It does.
P-Star, it does everything. So
I tell you, the other thing they could do is do a little workshop on a table where you can fit your own PL259s.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
There's I've seen shows that'll do that. They're like how to solder.
Yeah, those are those kind of videos I've been making lately because teaching my kids. I mean, it's the stuff that when I first started out, I was scared to death to try to put a PL259 on it, just screw something up, and it's not hard, but somebody needs to step them through there. And if you've got a stack of them, they can come up there and try it, and boom, they're good to go.
Yeah.
So all these ideas are cool in the gang if you want to talk local, but from the swaps, we call them here, you're only going to get the guys that are kind of local to the few repeaters that you might talk on. So they would kind of need to get together and organize a bigger thing. And I think that would be fantastic if we could do like the greater Detroit area, if all of the clubs got together and had a fest like that. I think it would be a really good thing. And we actually did try and do that at the Michigan International Raceway that I mentioned earlier in the last video or whatever, or this video, wherever we're on. but to get that many people together locally, when you think Dayton is the biggest Hamfest in the world and it draws 25, maybe 30,000 people. Now, granted, everyone's there, all the big guns and everything. There's a lot more draw to that than, and I'm kind of just playing devil's advocate here, but, you know, is that realistic? I think it could be, but it's going to take a lot more organization than just a local swap, you know, to have, you know, Callum, like you said, a station that's sitting there calling CQ and like activating the event, so to speak, and having a working station and battle bots and launching balloons and all that stuff, which I'm all about. I think we're all equally nerded out on that kind of stuff, but what is the reality of that? Could that be something that happens? And I ask that kind of just rhetorically. I don't like to use the word can't. That's the only word in the English dictionary that I don't like.
Well, I
think we can.
Yeah.
But how realistic is that really?
So
to put on a bigger show, of course.
Yeah.
I'm imagining, because I've been part of the organising team at one club, and I'm immediately thinking you get 4 clubs together, you know, pool the resources. But the trouble is, you got all the politics of the different clubs, and how do you split the money, and I can do it better than you. And
see, it shouldn't be about money. That should be the like make it a charity thing. Give all the money to charity. Other than, you know, obviously if you're selling something, that's your money to keep. But like $5 admission fee, give it to a school, or give it to
Hey, I'm all for that.
Some like STEM club. You know, it has to support the STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math.
I like
not maths. Why do you guys pluralize math? But help the kids. Like you know, it should be something that would draw. Obviously, all of us old nerds are going to be there, but you know, maybe for families, bring all the people in, and get them to bring their kids, get activities. So if you could get 4 clubs or so together, you could probably have, you know, a couple thousand people turn out for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we tried partnering with another club on a Hamfest, and it wasn't the money; it was the political and the egos.
It's a mindset.
Couldn't get it done.
Ham radio. How can you have an ego?
Well, come to Connecticut and you'll see the politics. It was tough. If that can all be put aside, then but all the Hamfests I see, even the bigger ones, we have a couple of big ones here in New England. It's one club or one group putting it on, and I think it's mostly because the multiple groups just can't get it together.
I think they probably can't get it together, thinking about it, because of the money. Because the club I was in, that money they wanted to do about $1,500, maybe £1,000, and that meant everybody could pay $10 less a year on the bloody subs or something, you know. And I used to think to myself, well, you know, just pay your money. I think if you remove the money, you could do it, and I think that's what Steve was saying.
Yeah. And there's a lot of startup costs to put these big Hamfests on. And let me tell you about our Hamfest. Our Hamfest is, Steve, it's the same weekend.
I was hoping you'd talk about that, Kyle.
Sorry about this.
Yeah. Steve, our Hamfest in St. Louis is the same weekend as yours in Jackson, Mississippi. And
is that the one that's the same weekend as Winter Field Day?
Yes.
That's a problem.
Yep.
Which I was a little surprised at that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead, Kyle. Go ahead, Kyle.
And we've been putting on our Hamfest for years and years and years. And this year we had 20% growth. Last year we had 1,000 people show up. This year we had 1,200, right over 1,200 people. And this is what we did.
Awesome.
Yeah. We kind of reinvented our Hamfest this year. And this year we partnered with a radio symposium that had a lot of history of amateur radio, like old vintage stuff. And that was on Friday day. So our Hamfest typically was a Saturday from 8 to 1 p.m. And we became the Midwest ARRL division. So we were like, okay, we're going to kind of do this up and get some other activities. So what we did, just real briefly, we had a symposium on Friday morning that was all vintage radio, free forums so people could come and talk about old radios, and you know how the guys love to talk about old radios. Then on Friday night, we had an ARRL and DX banquet, and we were expecting 60 people. We had 110 show up.
Wow.
So that was a huge event for us. And then we extended our hours of Winterfest that day. We have all-day forums, 3 rooms of forums all day. We held a thing called Contest College, like Contest University, but that started in the afternoon, and we did that until 6 p.m. And then we also had kit building. We had Education Alley, which we talked about, Arden, Maker Fairs. The first robotics people came. We had some CW, APRS, an ARRS contact, and then we had our local community college that's got a ham radio group. They came and presented. And
Jeez.
it's one of those, I mean, it was a ton of work. And to put this thing on was, I'll give you the facts, it was $18,000 to put
Wow.
something on this on. Yes, we made some money.
That's
but
even better.
we made $6,500. That's
Wow.
what the club made.
It's,
But the effort and the, I mean, we've already started to plan next year's Hamfest because it takes an army, right? And some of these small clubs, they would love to grow their Hamfest, but to put a down payment, I mean, our down payment for the space that we have our Hamfest in, it's like $3,000, you know?
so
How
you've got
many
to have the resources to.
You have to have the resources. And I agree, Rob, like we just tried to about 5 years ago, we tried to get other clubs in the St. Louis area to do one big massive field day. Forget about it.
Yeah.
We couldn't even do it. So
Yeah.
there is, I mean, we had the mentality, you build it, they will come, and they came.
Is there any talk, Kyle, about moving that out of the winter field day weekend?
No. So I totally get it. This year,
Because I want to come to that show next year, and I talked to Bob from Our Finder, and we are 85% chance going to come to that show next year.
Yeah, that's drivable for me. I'll go there next year.
Yeah, I assume that you and I will probably still be in communication by then. Maybe we'll be, YouTubers bunch worldwide known by then. You never know. But yeah, that sounds like a fantastic show. I would like to come to it. But yeah, the winter field day thing is an issue.
I know. I totally get it. And we're going to see next year on what we can do. The Mississippi, the Jacksonville Hamfest is always the last weekend in January, and ours is the 4th weekend in January. So there's 5 weekends in January next year. So we're not going to conflict with the Jackson, Mississippi show. But again, your Callum's point on, you got to get some big vendors. You got to bring other people, like, West Mountain Radio comes to ours. We had Flex Radio come up. We had
that's awesome.
Debco Electronics came in. Tower Electronics is always a staple. Associated Radio from Kansas City. We're trying to attract these bigger vendors, and it's almost like a snowball, right? At the top of the hill, you start to push the snowball down, and you talk to Yesu, and they're like, "What do you mean Flex Radio came?" Well, we're going to come next year. You're like, you do need to come next year. and then ICOM is going to start to notice and go, wait a minute, these other 2 vendors are going. Well, maybe we need to put that on our show.
That's right.
So you almost pin them against one another. And once you start the snowball, it starts to roll, but you have to get that snowball rolling, and getting that snowball rolling is tough.
Yeah.
And you have to be ready for when the snowball starts getting bigger. You've got to have the club size and resources to accommodate that. I mean, when it starts growing that quickly, you've got to be able to adjust.
Right. We had 5 or 6 people that's all they did was, we coordinated the Hamfest, and you would not believe. I mean, you coordinate a small show, it's one thing. You coordinate a show with 1,200 people, you're in another ballpark, and it's a different game,
I admire you. I really do.
Correct.
That's amazing.
So what kind of kits? You said you did kit building and stuff. What kind of kits were were there?
Yeah. So Joe Eisenberg in K0NEB, who was from CQ Magazine, he came down from Nebraska and he built a wall wart power supply, which he has all of these 19-volt power supplies, like laptop power supplies. And all of the kids and all of the patrons, there was, I think he had 12 in his class. They signed up, and 19 volts out of a wall wart, and then it went into a small board that put 12 volts clean, 12 volts amp and a half out, and they learned to solder and put this kit together, and they got to take the whole thing home. And it can drive a Raspberry Pi. It can drive up to an amp and a half. But it was mostly a learning experience on learning to solder and how to put together a kit.
Yeah, see, that's like some of the stuff, like these little Pixie kits that you can get. I mean, I think I paid $7 or $8, and that's the next thing I've got with my kids that they're going to try to do. But $7 or $8 times a bunch of people, obviously you're going to have to get them to.
And you've seen those learn to solder kits, haven't you?
Yeah, in fact, it's back here somewhere. The kids just got done building those LNCO, I think is the brand, the little FM receiver kits, and solder those together and whatnot.
There's actually a kit called Learn to Solder, and it's there's two different kits. One's like a blinky LED, and the other one is I forget what it was, but it has instructions that come and actually shows you, this is the solder joint you don't want it to look like, and we've done that in the club too with our local makerspace on Learn to Solder, and that usually gets filled up by 20 or 30 people very easily. So just some ideas.
Good stuff.
So let me talk about HamCom real quick, because that's our Texas show. That's our big Texas show. Let me think. This is 2020, 2019, 2018. So around 2017, for 2 or 3 years before 2017, this is going to be a venue story. Okay. So HamCom was big back in the 80s and 90s, and it was in Arlington for a long time.
My wife got her ticket there.
Cool. Good. Yeah. So Arlington is where the current stadiums are for the Texas Rangers and the Dallas Cowboys. If none of you know where Arlington, Texas is, the viewers I'm talking about. So Arlington, Texas, HamCom was in Arlington for a long time. I never went. I don't know exactly where it was. I was told that it had a great outdoor swap fest area. And then it moved to Plano, East Plano, which if you don't live in Dallas-Fort Worth, you probably don't know this, but Plano as a whole is a town straight up Interstate 75 from Dallas. And it's it's not in Dallas County. It's in a county called Collin County.
Collin County, yeah.
And Plano has the drop dead worst traffic in all of DFW. The traffic in Plano is twice as bad as it is in downtown Dallas, downtown Fort Worth. So living in DFW for most of my life, I have no desire to drive to Plano at all. It is a nightmare. It's terrible. It's not as bad as Washington, D.C. or Jacksonville, Florida. I can tell you that from experience, but it's bad traffic. So it was held in East, it was on a Saturday, Friday and Saturday. It was held in East Plano, so on the other side of Plano, basically, for a long, long time, several years. That's about the time I got into it. That's the first time I met Richard at Main Trading Company, was out in East Plano. First time I met the guys at MFJ was out there, a couple other guys, and it was a fun show. And then they moved to Irving. Irving is right in the middle of the Metroplex, right smack dab between Dallas and Fort Worth, just barely east of DFW Airport. Very centralized location. They built a brand new convention center that they call the Irving Convention Center several years ago. And shortly after that, HamCom moved from East Plano. Well, Metroplex is here. Metroplex is here. They were in East Plano out here. They moved to Irving right in the center. And it was awesome. I was like, oh, that's a great location. Well, the Irving Convention Center, while it's really nice, parking's expensive. They charge you for parking both days. They made you park in a parking garage. Ham radio operators in Texas with 4x4 trucks and antennas, they don't like to park in a parking garage. There was no area in around the facility for a swap fest, not really a good swap fest. So they had it at Irving Convention Center for like 3 or 4 years. The last year they had it there, and this is on my YouTube channel. You can go watch the video. They sold about 900 or so tickets. This is the West Gulf Division Convention of the ARRL. So I'll talk about this here in a minute. If your Hamfest is not a division or a state convention for ARRL, it might do okay, but the ARRL can boost your Hamfest. It just can. People are very hot and cold about ARRL, as all the comments I've gotten on the videos that we have done on ARRL. People are very hot and cold, but nevertheless, if you have a convention for ARRL for your Hamfest, you're going to get more people there. It's just a matter of fact. So 900 tickets sold in, I think it was 2017. 920 tickets sold for a division convention. All the big names were there. ICOM, Yaesu, Kenwood, Elecraft, Flex Radio, MFJ, MTC, HamSource, a couple other guys were there. All they did from 2017 to 2018 was move back to Plano. Okay. They're like, you know what? This venue is nice. It's new. It's expensive. There's not an outside area for Swap Fest, and people have complained about it. So they listened to their patrons. They said, okay, we're going to go back to Plano. Much bigger area for Swap Fest, free parking. It's a little bit farther drive for people in Fort Worth and Tarrant County, but I live in Tarrant County. I don't care. They moved from Irving back to Plano, and in 1 year, 900 or so tickets in 2017. 2018, they sold just over 2,700 tickets. They tripled their ticket sales by just changing venues. 2019, last year, it was about 3,500 tickets sold.
Wow.
This year, 2020, in June, it's always in June. This year in 2020, I'm hoping they break $4,000.
Wow.
This is a fantastic show. It's put on by a group of people that are very interested in promoting amateur radio. MFJ is still there. Flex Radio, Elecraft, ICOM, Kenwood, Yaesu. Alenko is coming back this year. Art Finder is there. Main Trading Company is there. HamSource, who's a ham radio vendor, is there.
It's still at the convention center there in Plano over there?
Yes, it's called the Plano Center.
Yeah, so where in the world are they? I used to live in Plano. Where are they parking all these people?
It's in the field. In the field,
Okay.
in the grass. Again, people in Texas drive trucks. We don't care.
Yeah.
We'll park in the grass all day long. So, yeah, but it is a freaking awesome show. It really is. And they moved it back to Plano, and they have almost, they quadrupled. They tripled the tickets sold the first year, quadrupled the second year. I'm hoping they break 4,000 tickets sold this year. It's a great show. It's all day Friday, all day Saturday. We do a DMR dinner on Friday night. There's a DX dinner that happens. There's all kinds of different groups get together out there and do stuff. There's a D-Star group that's out there. But that's
I've still got family out there. I might do that.
Well, good. You should come then. So all that to say, venue is a huge necessity in putting on a really good Hamfest, because the Irving Convention Center was brand new. It was nice. It was clean. Everything was extraordinary, but it was hams are cheap. They just are. And having a parking garage, telling all your hams to park in a parking garage, come on. But the main thing was a parking garage, and I think they could have got around the expensive food. The parking garage and the no swap fest area. That was the thing that really kind of killed it, I think. So
in the US, with these swap fest areas, do people buy tables? Is it like a
yes,
boot sale or whatever, that you just set up and lay your tat out and sell it for a $5 or whatever?
It depends on, different shows do it different ways. There's The only Hamfest I've ever heard of that's done twice a year is in Belton, Texas. There's probably more than that. It's the only one I've heard of. But
We got one here in New England that's twice a year.
Cool. Okay, good. Yeah, I wouldn't have heard of that one. But there's one in Belton, Texas that's just south of Waco. And it's done in April and October every year. Actually, they did a little bit earlier this year. It's like mid-March this year. But they do it in the spring and the fall. And it's a Saturday-only show. But they rent the place from Thursday to Saturday. So on Friday, people get there late Thursday night or early Friday morning. They set up RVs. They set up SWAT Fest tables. And all day Friday is a awesome SWAT Fest, unallocated beer drinking extravaganza. If the weather is nice, man, you'll have hundreds of people there. If the weather is nice. But the weather in Texas is really, really schizophrenic. So it can be 85 and perfect. It can be windy and rainy and in the 40s, or it can be 120-degree blistering in April or October, whatever. So if the weather's nice, that's a great show. But it's all about venue, because the outdoor SWAT Fest is people they buy a parking spot is what they do, and they bring their own tables and they set up all their used stuff. So
yeah, the one we have here in New Hampshire twice a year used to be, well, it still kind of is that way, but years ago, like you said, you'd get there on a Friday and you'd stay until Saturday afternoon, and you could sleep right there. You bought your selling spot. You could pitch a tent. You could bring your camper, whatever.
Yes,
totally. But they don't let you do that anymore. They don't let you stay in the grounds anymore. If you want to stay overnight, you have to go out of the selling area to the other side of the thing, and they charge you like a ridiculous amount of money. And that's what's killing that one. It's still, I think, our biggest Hamfest here in New England, but it's not like it used to be because they don't allow that.
Why? Were they forced to not allow that by the venue, or is that their decision?
I'm not sure. Okay. I don't know the history of it.
Yeah. See, that'd be the first question I ask, because if the Hamfest people are trying to change that, that's a problem. Because they're going to kill their own Hamfest. But if they were forced to do it by the people who own the property, the facility, there's not much you can do about that. You look for another venue. That's what I would say.
Again, I don't know what precipitated all that, but that's what's happened. It's still a good show. I try to make it to it when I can, but I used to like to stay overnight, but you can't really do that anymore. Not on the grounds anyway. Yeah,
see, in this one, you can people bring trailers out there. It's a huge parking lot, and we fill up maybe half of it. And there's hundreds of people there. Again, if the weather's nice, but there's people there. They bring there's no RV hookups, but they'll bring their RV trailers, set up a generator. Stay overnight, Thursday night, Friday night, maybe sometimes Saturday night. That some people go home Saturday. Most people go home Saturday afternoon, because the show officially ends at 2, but by noon on Saturday, people are bailing.
Hi, Bob.
But it's a great.
Hi, Bob.
Yeah.
Show's over. Bob's here.
Okay, I'll see you next time, guys.
Bob. Oh gosh, I've got him muted. Unmute Bob.
You're on mute. You're on mute, Bob.
Yeah, you're unmuted, Bob. I try to. There you go, dude.
There he is.
I've been answering the storm of emails and comments.
There's another bleep I'll have to bleep out. Nope. But okay, hey, welcome, Bob.
See, it's because everyone's mother warned us about you.
That's right. Yeah. The ham radio show, your mother warned you. Did you see my live stream, Bob?
No.
Go watch. Okay, my last live stream that I did a week ago Sunday. Go watch the first 3 minutes of it. You're on there.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. Cool.
Naked.
Oh, God.
That's even better.
I'm not from Arkansas, dude. So, all right, Bob, I'm going to let you got a cat behind you there, Mike.
Huh? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I told you I had to go feed my cat.
Yeah.
Twice.
For more.
Yeah.
Okay,
I wasn't
Bob.
kidding. I have a legit cat.
Yeah. Bob, we're talking about what makes or breaks a Hamfest. I know it's probably shoot from the hip, but if you want to go, please feel free to contribute.
Okay. First of all, how's my audio? Does it sound good, or is it?
Good.
All right.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Makes or breaks a Hamfest. My local club, we recently started a new Hamfest, So, and really what makes or breaks it is participation of the club and enthusiasm. That was the huge deal that I learned. You know, and you want to be able to kind of drive that enthusiasm through your club, get the word out. That was a big deal too, to all the surrounding clubs and the surrounding areas, to get it, to get people to come out and bring their stuff, bring their old junk and everything. And then timing. I think that's also kind of a big deal there. So that's it in a nutshell. Have at it if you're thinking about having a Hamfest. I highly encourage it. It's a lot of fun.
Hey, Bob, what do you mean about timing, my friend?
Well, you know what? When we first started ours, we talked about it, and there was several going on, you know, in our general area throughout the year. And I suggested, hey, why not do one in March? We'll be the first one of the year. Then everybody that's storing up all their old crap from the previous year will want to take their old crap, i.e. treasures, out to the Hamfest and get rid of it. And it worked out great.
Okay. That's what I think of one of our local Hamfests is. There's two halls, Bob. One is kind of shiny and clean, right? And then there's this other hall with all the same old traders every year selling the same old crap. I don't know.
The crap just moves from trailer to trailer.
Yeah, I think so.
So, Bob, what's the name of your Hamfest?
It is the Sierra Foothills Amateur Radio Hamfest. We have it in the town of Loomis, California. It's actually coming up. I'm on the Hamfest planning committee, and it is March 20. You know what? I got it now. I got to look it up. It's like March 20th, I believe, or 21st. Give me a second. Hamfest, March 21st.
Okay.
Of this year. So, you know what? If you're in Northern California and you want to go to the best Hamfest in the area, next to Pacificon, come on out to Loomis. We've got plenty of space and great prizes, all that good stuff.
How many tickets do you expect to sell, Bob? Or do you know? Or how many tables do you have to sell?
We fill up a city parking lot, and we normally have between 100 and 110 spaces to sell.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not a bad size show, really.
Yeah,
that's a good medium size show, I would say. You know, I've been to shows that have 50 tables and shows that have 250 tables. So that's a good middle of the road show, I would say. Is this your first year to do that?
No, this is actually our 5th year now.
Okay. Do you have any vendors there? Or is it just a swap fest?
It's pretty much just a swap fest. We haven't worked on trying to really expand it. Last year we added a couple of educational programs. This year we're doing a digital workshop, and I'm teaching part of it. So we'll see how that goes.
So you're going to tell everyone to use D-Star then, right?
Well, you know what? I am a D-Star fan. I'm kind of an everything fan now. I mean, I like it all.
Do that to you.
It's a lot of fun. So I'll be teaching D-Star Fusion and DMR.
Awesome. Well, I have plans that weekend, but keep me posted for next year. I think we could maybe make something happen for that. That'd be fun.
Cool.
So I'm always good to always happy to promote Hamfests that are put on by or supported by the local YouTubers guys, like Kyle's Hamfest in January, and my big Hamcom show. It's not mine, but I promote the Hamcom show in June, which is the West Gulf Division Convention. Second weekend in June. There'll be about hopefully about 4,000 people there this year. So
There's a lot of lakes around you too, is there not, Jason?
There's a
Or a
few.
couple.
I know
Isn't
you
there a
define
big
a lot.
Grapevine Lake up
Grapevine
there.
Lake
Lake?
Grapevine, Lake Louisville, Lake Ray Roberts to the north, Lake Ray Hubbard to the east.
Got
I was
Levon
looking.
over
I
there.
was looking at the Colony.
Yeah.
To transfer. My company has an opening there that I might apply for.
Oh, that's Lake Louisville. That's
Oh,
Lake Louisville.
yeah, Louisville.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice area. That's
Yeah.
a good area.
I was looking
The
on the
Col-
map and I just saw lakes. I'm like, I don't know if I want to live that far from water. And then I saw that, so that was.
Oh yeah, no. Lake
neat.
Louisville reaches all the way east of the Colony. The Colony's a nice town. To get from the Colony to where I'm at, the traffic kind of sucks. But
It
yeah,
looked like
the
there was
Colony's
like
a
a
great area.
turnpike or something that went right there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
seeing that
there's-
alone means traffic is terrible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not. I mean, you're in Detroit, so you're used to traffic, right? So it's not.
I don't have to go downtown, so
Well, neither do I. But I'm in mid cities. I hardly ever leave mid cities. But traffic out here is still terrible.
between
terrible.
4 and 6:30, I try to not drive, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty far away from Detroit proper.
Well,
so.
if you and Bob both moved to Texas, dude, we would get into some trouble out here. I tell
We'd
you,
never
what.
get anything accomplished.
Oh hell, I'll come
We
to
would be
Texas
like-
as well.
There'd be
Let's
like a
all-
local news thing 6 months later and says, "Who the hell are these ham radio guys?"
Ham radio has swarmed the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Woo! Oh yeah.
Hey,
Okay.
I always say, as soon as they put traffic circles in, that's the end of civilization.
Dude, they're here. They're putting them
Oh,
up
they've
all
got 'em
over
here.
Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got
they
them here
too.
too.
Callum, what's the deal with those? How do we use those things?
Just drive into it and pray.
What, the roundabouts?
Hey, kids,
Yeah.
Big Ben.
Parliament.
Parliament.
Well, I'm surprised in Texas you just don't go over the top of them.
I've seen some videos where I
So I saw a video, where somebody
Hold
like
my
runs
beer.
over one.
Hold on here.
Yeah, it was probably me. I've done that. The
There
brakes
wasn't an
failed.
aerial on it, so I don't think it was you, but could have been.
But
Okay,
speaking of beer,
let me close this out real quick, and then if you guys want to join back, we'll just keep going. I am happy to keep going.
Yeah, I got a bail, but
That's fine.
I got a question before you go, Robin, before you
Yeah,
make your thing. Explain 741 to me.
um,
Why the name?
well, there's a reason behind it, but I don't publicize it.
All right. You're
we'll
like
talk
the
about it
you're like
offline.
the smoking
the
egg.
smoking egg.
Right,
yeah.
right. Smoke
Yeah, in a way. We'll
All
just say it's a tribute to my dad. And
Oh, that's fantastic. That's
Yeah.
good enough.
cool.
But I'll
like
tell
that.
you why sometime in person.
All right.
Okay, so I'm gonna close this out. This has been obviously YouTubers Bunch. We drink beer and we talk about ham radio, and that's our shtick. So if you like that, look on the YouTube description below. Check out all the links to all the channels here. Send us an email. Any of us, whoever, send anyone an email, make a comment on the video, and tell us what you would like to hear us talking about next time. 73 guys. Catch you next time.